I was sitting in the Monday morning all-hands meeting when my manager stood up and announced my termination. My name is Emma. I'm a senior consultant at a strategy consulting firm. I've been here 4 years. I specialize in financial services clients. My manager's name is Derek. He's the practice lead. He was standing at the front of the conference room with a slide deck open behind him. Before we get into project updates, he said, I need to address a personnel matter. Emma will be leaving the firm effective immediately. We've made the decision to terminate her employment due to performance issues that haven't improved despite multiple interventions. I was sitting in the third row. 23 people were in the room. I could feel them turning to look at me. I didn't move. I didn't speak. I kept my hands folded on the table in front of me. Derek continued. We'll be redistributing her client portfolio over the next few days. If you have questions about transition plans, please see me after the meeting. He moved to the next slide. I sat through the rest of the meeting. I took notes. I didn't leave early. I didn't make a scene. When the meeting ended, I walked back to my desk. I opened my laptop. I sent one email. The recipient was my attorney. The subject line was Employer Announcement, Documentation Attached. I attached the meeting invite, the recorded Teams session, and the termination timeline I'd been tracking for 6 weeks. Then I closed my laptop and waited. Derek didn't come to my desk. No one from HR called. I sat there for 2 hours. At 11, I received an email from IT. My access to the client portal would be revoked at end of business. My company laptop needed to be returned to the office manager by 5 p.m. I replied, confirming receipt. Then I opened my personal laptop. I logged into my personal cloud storage. Every document I needed was already there. I'd been uploading them for 6 weeks. Performance reviews, client feedback, project completion records, email threads, meeting notes, the employee handbook, my employment contract. I'd also been tracking something else, a pattern. Derek had terminated 3 other consultants in the last 18 months. All of them were women. All of them were senior consultants. All of them had been announced in staff meetings. None of them had been given written warnings. None of them had been placed on performance improvement plans. The employee handbook required both. 6 weeks earlier, I'd noticed Derek's behavior changing. It started in a client strategy meeting. I'd presented a market analysis. Derek interrupted me twice. The second time, he said, I think we need someone with more experience leading this work stream. The client looked confused. I'd been on their account for 2 years. After the meeting, I went back to my desk. I opened a new document. I wrote down what he'd said. The date, the time, who was present. I didn't know why I was doing it yet. It just felt important. The next week, Derek reassigned one of my projects. He didn't tell me directly. He just updated the staffing sheet and copied the team. I was removed. A junior consultant with 8 months of experience was added. I saved the email. I noted the date. The week after that, I had coffee with a former colleague. Her name was Sarah. She'd left the firm 6 months earlier. How's Derek? She asked. Fine, busy. She looked at me carefully. Did he put you on a PIP? No, why? He didn't put me on one either. He just called me into his office one day and said my performance wasn't meeting expectations. 2 weeks later, I was gone. Did you get severance? 2 weeks. I signed the release because I didn't know what else to do. I asked her if there had been written warnings, documentation, a formal review process. She said no. I went home that night and pulled up LinkedIn. I searched for former employees. I found 2 other women who'd left in the past year, both senior consultants, both in Derek's practice. I reached out to one of them. Her name was Michelle. We'd worked together briefly. Did Derek give you written warnings before he terminated you? I asked. No, he just announced it in a team meeting. Said I wasn't a good fit. Did you fight it? I hired a lawyer. We're in settlement talks now. I thanked her. I hung up. Then I called an employment attorney. Her name was Lisa. I told her what I'd noticed, the pattern, the lack of documentation, the public announcements. Do you have your employee handbook? Yes. Read the termination policy. See if they're following it. I pulled it up that night. Section 7. Termination for cause required written notice of performance deficiencies. 30 days to improve. A formal performance improvement plan. Documentation at each stage. None of that had happened to Sarah. None of it had happened to Michelle. And none of it had happened to me. They're not following their own policy, I told Lisa the next day. Good. Keep documenting. If they terminate you, don't resign. Don't give them cause. Let them do it their way. And then we have a case. For the next 4 weeks, I documented everything. I set up a personal cloud account. Every night, I uploaded emails, meeting notes, project files, performance reviews, client feedback. I enabled automatic recording on all my team's meetings. The software announced it at the start of each call. Everyone consented. It was policy. Derek's behavior escalated. In a Friday team meeting, Emma, I'm not sure you're keeping up with the workload. Maybe we need to redistribute some of your accounts. I didn't argue. I just said, I'm happy to discuss my capacity. He didn't schedule a follow-up. That night, I transcribed his comment. I noted who else was in the meeting. I saved the recording. The following week, he excluded me from a client pitch. I'd been working on the account for 6 months. He staffed a consultant who'd been at the firm for 3 weeks. I didn't complain. I just documented it. By week 6, I knew it was coming. Lisa called me on a Thursday. If they're going to do this, they'll do it soon. Be ready. Don't react. Don't resign. Just let it happen. What if they ask me to sign something? Don't sign anything without sending it to me first. 3 days later, Derek made the announcement. At noon, the office manager came to my desk. Her name was Paula. She was holding a box. I'm sorry, Emma. I need you to pack up your things. I stood. I packed my personal items. A photo frame, a notebook, a coffee mug. Paula walked me to the elevator. I left the building. I drove home. I called Lisa. They announced it in a meeting? She asked. Yes. 23 people. Do you have the recording? Yes. Send it to me. Also send the attendee list. I sent both. What happens now? Now we wait for the separation paperwork. They'll send a severance offer with a release. Don't sign it. Forward it to me. I waited. On Tuesday, nothing. On Wednesday, I received a LinkedIn message from a former colleague. Emma, are you okay? I heard what happened. I replied, I'm fine. Thanks for checking in. Another message came an hour later, from someone I barely knew. This happened to Sarah last year. Same thing. No warning, just announced in a meeting. I screenshot the message. I saved it. On Thursday morning, I checked the firm's website. My profile was gone. My bio, my client testimonials, all removed. I used the Wayback Machine to pull an archived version. I saved both, before and after. That afternoon, a FedEx package arrived. Inside was a separation agreement, a check for 2 weeks of severance, a release of all claims. The severance was calculated at my base salary. It didn't include my annual bonus. I was owed 20% of my salary as a performance bonus. The employee handbook stated bonuses were paid pro rata for employees who left mid-year. I was also owed unused PTO, 15 days. The check didn't include it. I photographed every page. I sent them to Lisa. She called me that evening. They're shorting you at least $30,000, bonus and PTO combined. What do? We send a demand letter. We ask for what you're owed. We also ask for damages. What damages? They violated their own termination policy. No written warnings, no PIP. That's a breach of contract. You're also the fourth woman they've done this to. That's a pattern. That opens the door to a discrimination claim. How much do we ask for? 6 months salary, bonus, PTO, legal fees, about $150,000. Will they pay? They'll negotiate. But yes, they don't want this in front of a judge. Long pause. Lisa drafted the letter over the weekend. 3 pages. It cited the employee handbook. It referenced the 3 prior terminations. It outlined the policy violations. It requested $150,000. It also stated that if they didn't respond within 10 business days, we would file with the state labor board and pursue litigation. She sent it Monday morning, certified mail and email. We waited. On day 6, I received a call from the firm's general counsel. His name was Richard. Miss Emma, this is Richard from the legal department. I've reviewed your attorney's letter. Yes? I'd like to discuss a resolution. I'm listening. We believe there may have been some confusion regarding your separation terms. We'd like to correct that. What are you proposing? 12 weeks of severance. That would include your pro rata bonus and unused PTO. We'd also provide a neutral reference letter. And the release? Standard language. Release of all claims related to your employment and separation. I didn't respond immediately. I'll need to discuss this with my attorney. Of course. Can you respond by end of week? I'll let you know. I called Lisa. 12 weeks is about $50,000. We asked for $150,000. What do I counter? 24 weeks, plus attorney's fees. She sent the counter that afternoon. 2 days later, Richard called again. His tone was different, less friendly. We can do 20 weeks. That's final. It includes everything owed plus additional consideration. We'll cover $10,000 in legal fees. I calculated it. 20 weeks was $85,000. With the fees, $95,000 total. I need to see the release language. I'll send it today. He did. Lisa reviewed it that night. It's broad, standard for this type of settlement. You'd be releasing all claims. No labor board, no EEOC, no litigation. Is that a problem? Only if you want to keep fighting. This is a business decision. You're getting close to $100,000. You're getting out clean. Litigation would take 18 months and cost you time and energy, even if you won more. I thought about it for 2 days. I'll take it. Lisa notified Richard. The paperwork arrived the following week. I signed it. She reviewed it first. The check arrived 5 days later. $85,000. Another check for $10,000 to Lisa's firm. I deposited both. I took 2 weeks off. Then I started interviewing. I had 3 offers within a month, all at competing firms, all paid more than my previous role. One interviewer asked, "Why did you leave your last firm?" I was terminated. I'm happy to explain the circumstances if you'd like. He looked surprised. Please. I was let go without documentation or warning. The firm didn't follow its own termination policy. I retained counsel and reached a settlement. He nodded slowly. That takes courage. It takes preparation. I accepted an offer at a firm 20 blocks away, Senior consultant, same practice, 15% salary increase. I started 3 weeks later. On my first day, I read the employee handbook. I noted the termination policy. Written warnings required. PIP process documented. Right to appeal. I filed it mentally. On my second day, I ran into one of my former clients in the building lobby. She was waiting for a meeting. "Emma, I didn't know you were here." "I started this week." "I'm glad. I was upset when I heard you'd left. Derek said you'd relocated." I didn't correct her. "I'm happy to be here." "We should work together again. I'll reach out to your practice lead." 2 weeks later, I was staffed on her account. 6-month engagement. High visibility. Derek's team had been pitching for the same work. They didn't get it. I heard through a former colleague that Derek had been questioned about my departure during a client meeting. He'd said I'd left for personal reasons. The client had reached out to me directly. I'd told them I was terminated without cause. They moved their business to my new firm. Derek's practice missed its quarterly target. I didn't follow up. I just kept working. 6 months later, I was promoted to principal. My compensation increased. I managed my own portfolio. I had 2 direct reports. One afternoon, I ran into Paula near my office. She was getting coffee. "Emma, how are you?" "Good. Still at the firm?" She hesitated. "Things are different now. Derek's been careful. Written warnings for everything. PIPs. Some people think he's paranoid." "That's good. People should know where they stand." "Yeah." She paused. "I think someone scared him." I didn't respond. We talked for a few more minutes. Then I went back to my office. I had a client meeting in 10 minutes. I reviewed my notes. I prepared my talking points. I thought about what Paula had said. Derek was following policy now. That meant fewer people would go through what I did. That was enough. I didn't need an apology. I didn't need him fired. I just needed him to stop. And he had. I'd learned something at that firm. Derek thought silence meant acceptance. He was wrong. Silence just meant I was paying attention.